The journey to the desert was long and grueling. Days turned into nights as the group traveled across barren landscapes under the scorching sun, their supplies dwindling with each passing mile. Alex carried the coordinates in his pocket, checking them constantly against the map. The closer they got to the artifact's location, the heavier the weight of responsibility felt on his shoulders. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they'd reached the spot marked on the map, a vast expanse of sand dunes stretching endlessly in every direction. In the center stood a lone stone obelisk, weathered by time but still bearing faint traces of the same glowing symbols Alex had seen before. "This is it," Harold said, his voice filled with both excitement and caution. "The entrance must be underground." Ryan knelt beside the obelisk, brushing away layers of sand to reveal a small panel etched with intricate designs. "How do we open it?" Alex hesitated, then pulled out the disc from his backpack. As he held it near the panel, the symbols began to glow, pulsating in sync with the disc's hum. With a low rumble, the ground beneath them shifted, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. "Stay close," Harold warned, leading the way with a flashlight. The air grew cooler as they descended, the walls lined with carvings that told the story of Earth's forgotten past. Scenes of cooperation between humans and extraterrestrials gave way to images of conflict and destruction, ending with a single figure holding a crystalline object, the relic. At the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves in a chamber bathed in soft blue light. In the center, resting on a pedestal, was the artifact. It shimmered like liquid glass, its surface alive with swirling patterns of light. Alex approached cautiously, his heart pounding. He reached out to touch it, and the moment his fingers brushed its surface, a surge of energy coursed through him. Visions flooded his mind. Ancient cities rising and falling, alliances forged and broken, lessons learned at great cost. When the visions faded, he stumbled back, gasping for breath. "What did you see?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. "The truth," Alex replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everything. The good, the bad, the mistakes, and the hope." Harold nodded gravely. "Now comes the hardest part. What will you do with this knowledge?" Alex looked at his friends, their faces reflecting fear, determination, and trust. Then he turned to Harold. "We share it with everyone. Humanity deserves to know its true history, even if it's painful. Hiding it only repeats the same cycle." Emma stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Then we'll help you. Together." As they prepared to leave the chamber, a low growl echoed through the tunnels. The enforcers had found them again. Shadows moved at the edges of the light, their glowing eyes piercing the darkness. "You take the artifact and go," Harold said firmly, gripping the blue device he'd used before. "I'll hold them off." "No," Alex protested, but Harold cut him off. "It's the only way. Trust me." Reluctantly, Alex nodded, tears welling in his eyes. With Emma and Ryan flanking him, he ran toward the exit, clutching the artifact tightly. Behind them, Harold activated the device, bathing the chamber in blinding light. The last thing Alex heard was Harold's voice. "Remember, to restore balance, humanity needs the truth." When they emerged into the desert, the sun was rising, painting the horizon in gold. Alex looked back at the obelisk one final time, knowing Harold had sacrificed himself for their mission. But there was no time to grieve. They had work to do. Over the following weeks, Alex, Emma, and Ryan worked tirelessly to decode the artifact's secrets and share them with the world. It wasn't easy. Governments resisted, media outlets questioned, and some people refused to believe. But slowly, the truth began to spread. For Alex, it was more than just completing his mission. It was about bridging two worlds, his own and Earth's. By uncovering the past, he hoped to create a future where trust and unity could flourish. And though challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain. The truth had set them free. and together, they would build something better. The holographic projections filled the observatory with a soft, otherworldly glow. Images of ancient cities floated in the air, their towers shimmering like mirages. Star maps stretched across the walls, showing constellations Alex had never seen before. Blueprints of machines and devices appeared one after another, each more intricate than the last. It was overwhelming. Too much to process all at once. "What are we looking at?" Ryan asked, his voice hushed with awe. "Is this real?" "It's all real," Harold replied, his eyes scanning the projections. "These were the tools and technologies shared by your ancestors and the extraterrestrials. Together, they built wonders that pushed humanity centuries ahead of where it should have been." Emma stepped closer to one of the images, a glowing city surrounded by oceans. "But if this is true, why did it end? Why destroy something so amazing?" Harold hesitated, his expression darkening. "Because trust broke down. Humanity began to fear its allies, blaming them for problems they didn't cause. Greed and jealousy took root, turning cooperation into conflict. In the end, the survivors decided the only way to stop future wars was to erase the memory of their existence entirely." Alex stared at the holograms, his mind racing. He thought about his own mission, to understand Earth's forbidden knowledge, and realized how dangerous it truly was. If people reacted violently back then, how would they react now? Would uncovering the truth bring unity or chaos? As he pondered this, the disk emitted a faint pulse, drawing his attention. A new projection appeared, a timeline stretching across the room. It showed key moments in Earth's history: the rise of civilizations, the sudden leaps in technology, and the catastrophic war that erased everything. At the very end of the timeline was a single phrase: *to restore balance, seek the artifact. *. What artifact? Alex murmured, leaning closer. "The buried relic," Harold said, recognition dawning on his face. "It's mentioned in old texts, a crystalline device hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface. Supposedly, it contains the full record of the Alliance era, including the mistakes that led to its downfall. Then we need to find it," Alex said firmly. "If we can recover the artifact, maybe we can share the truth in a way that helps instead of harms." Emma nodded, though her brow was furrowed with concern. "But how do we even start? The world isn't exactly small." "The map," Harold said, pointing to one of the star charts. Embedded within it was a set of coordinates. "This will lead us to the artifact's location." Ryan crossed his arms, skeptical as always. "And what happens when those enforcers show up again? They're not just going to let us waltz out of here with answers." "We'll deal with them when the time comes," Alex replied, his tone resolute. "For now, we focus on finding the artifact. Everything depends on it." Harold began copying the coordinates onto a piece of paper, while Emma studied the blueprints of the relic. It looked like a prism, its edges etched with the same symbols Alex had seen in the cave and on the disk. "Do you think it's still intact?" she asked. "If it wasn't, none of this would matter," Harold answered. "The relic was designed to withstand time itself, but retrieving it won't be easy. It's buried in a remote desert, protected by ancient traps meant to keep intruders away." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Traps, enforcers, secrets. It seemed like every step forward came with a new challenge. But there was no turning back now. The truth was too important. As they prepared to leave the observatory, Harold turned off the holograms and removed the disk from the pedestal. "We'll take this with us," he said, slipping it into his bag. "If we're caught without it, everything we've done here will be for nothing." The group moved cautiously back toward the entrance, listening for any sign of the enforcers. To their relief, the hallway outside was empty, but the silence felt ominous, like a storm waiting to break. When they finally emerged into the cold mountain air, Alex glanced at the horizon. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. For a moment, he allowed himself to hope. If they could find the artifact, They might finally have a chance to rewrite Earth's story, not just for humanity, but for both worlds. But deep down, he knew the hardest battles were yet to come. The journey to the observatory was grueling. The group climbed higher into the mountains, their path growing steeper and more treacherous with each passing hour. The air grew thinner, making every step feel heavier, but they pressed on, driven by the urgency of their mission. Alex kept the disc tucked securely in his backpack, its faint hum a constant reminder of what was at stake. By mid-morning, they reached a narrow ridge that offered a breathtaking view of the valley below. Snow-capped peaks stretched endlessly in every direction, their white surfaces glinting under the pale sunlight. For a moment, they paused to catch their breath and take in the scenery. But the peace was short-lived. A distant sound echoed through the mountains, low and guttural. "They're following us," Harold whispered, his voice tense. "We need to keep moving." Emma glanced over her shoulder, her green eyes wide with worry. "How are they tracking us? We've been so careful." "It's the disc," Alex said quietly, adjusting the straps of his backpack. "They can sense it somehow." Ryan frowned, gripping a walking stick tightly. "Then maybe we should leave it behind. If they want it so badly, let them have it." "No," Alex replied firmly. "This is bigger than us. We can't give up now." Harold nodded in agreement. "Ryan's right about one thing. They're closing in. We'll have to split up temporarily to throw them off our trail. Emma and Ryan, you two head west along the ridge. Alex and I will take the eastern path. Meet back here in 2 hours." Emma hesitated, clearly reluctant to separate, but she didn't argue. With a quick nod, she and Ryan set off in the opposite direction, disappearing around a bend in the trail. Alex watched them go, his stomach twisting with unease. He trusted his friends, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. As Alex and Harold continued eastward, the terrain became even more rugged. Loose rocks shifted underfoot, forcing them to move slowly and carefully. The wind picked up, carrying with it the scent of snow. Despite the cold, Alex's palms were sweaty, his nerves stretched taut like a wire. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the rocky slope above them. Alex froze, his heart pounding. "Did you see that?" Harold grabbed his arm, pulling him behind a large boulder. "Stay down." Peering cautiously over the edge, Alex spotted movement, a figure crouched on the ridge, its glowing eyes scanning the area. More shapes emerged from the rocks, surrounding them silently. The enforcers had found them. "We're outnumbered," Harold muttered, his jaw clenched. "We need to get out of here. Now." Before they could act, a sharp whistle pierced the air. From the west, Ryan appeared, waving frantically. "Over here. Hurry." Behind him, Emma sprinted toward them, her face flushed with exertion. "We led them away from the trail," she panted, "but they're coming fast." Without hesitation, the group bolted down the mountain, weaving between boulders and leaping over crevices. The enforcers gave chase, their unnatural speed closing the gap with alarming swiftness. Just as Alex thought they wouldn't make it, Harold shouted, "There!" The entrance. Ahead, partially hidden by a wall of vines, was a metal door embedded in the mountainside. Harold fumbled with the keypad beside it, his fingers flying over the buttons. A soft beep signaled success, and the door slid open with a hydraulic hiss. "Inside. Quickly," Harold urged, ushering them through. Once inside, Harold slammed the door shut and activated a locking mechanism. The enforcers pounded against the other side, their snarls muffled by the thick metal. For now, they were safe. The observatory was dimly lit, its walls lined with panels of blinking lights and strange symbols. In the center of the room stood a pedestal similar to the one in the cave, except this one had a circular slot that seemed perfectly sized for the disc. "This is it," Harold said, his voice filled with awe. "Place the disc in the slot. Let's see what secrets it holds." Alex stepped forward, his hands trembling as he inserted the disc. It clicked into place, and the room came alive with a soft hum. Holographic projections sprang to life, showing images of ancient cities, star maps, and blueprints of advanced technology. But among the wonders was a warning, a message written in glowing letters. Asterisk, the cost of unity is trust. Without it, all will fall. Asterisk, what does it mean? Emma asked softly, staring at the words. Harold sighed. It means humanity wasn't ready then, and might not be ready now. Alex felt the weight of the truth settle over him. The knowledge they sought was within reach, but sharing it would come at a price, and the hardest part of their journey was only beginning. Harold stepped further into the cabin, his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes sharp and alert. He closed the door behind him, ensuring it was secure before turning to face the group. The pulsating blue device in his hand dimmed as he set it on the table, its glow fading into a soft hum. We don't have much time, Harold said, his voice low but urgent. They'll be back, and next time, they won't stop. What are those things? Emma asked, her voice trembling slightly. And why do they want the disc so badly? They're enforcers, Harold replied grimly, sent by whoever erased Earth's true history to make sure no one uncovers it. They'll do whatever it takes to keep the past buried. Ryan frowned, gripping the wooden chair tighter. But why? What's the big deal about some old artifact? It's not just an artifact, Harold explained. That disc contains knowledge. Powerful, dangerous knowledge. If people learned the truth about their history, it could change everything. Governments would fall, societies would collapse. Those in control can't risk that. Alex stared at the disc in his hands, feeling its weight both physically and metaphorically. So, what do we do now? How do we decode it? Harold hesitated, glancing at each of them. There's a place, an observatory hidden in the mountains. It was built during the Alliance era and holds technology capable of reading the disc. But getting there won't be easy. The enforcers will try to stop us every step of the way. Emma crossed her arms, her expression resolute. Then we'll have to be smarter than them. We can't let them win. Ryan nodded reluctantly. She's right. If this is as important as you say, we have to see it through. Alex looked at his friends, gratitude swelling in his chest. Despite the danger, they were willing to help him uncover the truth. He turned to Harold. How far is the observatory? A day's journey if we move quickly, Harold replied. But we'll need supplies and a plan to avoid detection. For the rest of the morning, they worked together to prepare for the trip. Harold rummaged through the cabin, finding a map marked with trails leading toward the mountains. Emma packed food and water, while Ryan gathered tools that might come in handy. Alex kept the disc close, occasionally brushing his fingers against its surface. Each touch sent a faint warmth through him, almost as if it were alive. By midday, they set out, sticking to narrow paths and dense underbrush to stay hidden. The forest around them felt oppressive, every rustle of leaves making them tense. Twice, they heard distant footsteps and ducked behind trees, holding their breath until the sounds passed. As they climbed higher into the foothills, the air grew colder, and the terrain became rougher. By late afternoon, fatigue began to set in, but none of them complained. They knew stopping wasn't an option, not with the enforcers likely still on their trail. When they finally stopped to rest near a stream, Emma broke the silence. Why did you trust us, Alex? You didn't have to tell us any of this. Alex hesitated, looking down at the disc. I couldn't do this alone. And I think you deserve to know. This isn't just my fight. It's yours too. Your planet's history belongs to you. Emma smiled faintly, though her eyes reflected the gravity of his words. We'll figure it out together. As dusk fell, they made camp beneath a cluster of pine trees, their makeshift shelter offering little protection from the biting wind. Around the fire, Harold shared more details about the Alliance era. the wonders humanity had achieved, and the mistakes that led to its downfall. "The key is learning from the past," Harold said quietly. "If we unlock the disk's secrets, we can prevent the same mistakes from happening again." "But what if it's too late?" Ryan asked, staring into the flames. "What if the people in charge already know and are using this knowledge for themselves?" Harold sighed. "Then our job becomes even more critical. The truth has to reach everyone, not just a select few." As the fire crackled softly, Alex gazed up at the stars. For the first time since arriving on Earth, he felt a flicker of hope. With his friends by his side, he believed they could uncover the truth. And maybe, just maybe, rewrite the future. But deep down, he knew the hardest part was yet to come. The three of them, Alex, Emma, and Ryan, huddled together in the small cabin, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Outside, the forest remained eerily quiet, but none of them trusted the calm. Alex kept glancing at the backpack containing the disk, his mind racing with questions. What if someone, or something, found Harold? What if they came after him next? Emma broke the silence first. "Okay, Alex," she said firmly, her green eyes locking onto his. "You said you'd tell us everything. Now's the time." Alex hesitated, unsure where to begin. How could he explain centuries of hidden history without sounding like he'd lost his mind? But looking at their faces, Emma's determined expression and Ryan's cautious curiosity, he realized he had no choice. They deserved to know. "Earth's history isn't what we think it is," Alex started, choosing his words carefully. "A long time ago, humans weren't alone. They worked with beings from other worlds. Together, they built amazing things. Cities that floated, machines that could heal, tools that made life easier." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "You mean aliens?" "Yes," Alex admitted, "but not like in movies or stories. These beings weren't invaders. They were allies. They helped humanity grow faster than it should have naturally." Emma frowned. "If that's true, why don't we know about it? Why isn't any of this in our books or museums?" "Because it ended badly," Alex explained. "Something happened. A fight. Maybe betrayal. Humans turned against their allies, blaming them for problems they didn't cause. To stop more conflict, the survivors decided to erase all evidence of what happened. That's why so much of Earth's past feels missing." Ryan leaned back against the wall, shaking his head. "This is insane. You're telling the aliens used to live here, and now everyone pretends they never existed." "It sounds crazy, I know," Alex said quietly. "But that disk proves it's real. It contains records of their alliance, the good parts and the bad." Emma reached out, touching the edge of the backpack. "And those things chasing you, are they connected?" "I think so," Alex replied. "They must be protecting the secret. Whoever controls this knowledge has power over everyone else. That's why they don't want anyone finding out." For a moment, no one spoke. The implications hung heavy in the air. Finally, Emma stood up, her voice steady. "Then we need to figure out what's on that disk. If this is as important as you say, we can't let them win." Ryan nodded reluctantly. "She's right. But how do we even start? We don't exactly have alien tech lying around." Alex opened the backpack and pulled out the disk, holding it up to the light. "I don't know yet, but Harold mentioned something about decoding it. Maybe there's a way to unlock its secrets." As they debated their next move, a loud crash outside startled them. All three froze, staring at the door. Another crash followed, louder this time, and then footsteps, slow, deliberate, and far too close. "They're here," Alex whispered, his heart pounding. Emma grabbed a flashlight from the table, while Ryan picked up a sturdy wooden chair, ready to use it as a weapon. Alex clutched the disk tightly, unwilling to let it go. He wouldn't fail, not after coming this far. The door creaked as something pushed against it from the other side. Shadows moved beneath the gap at the bottom, distorted and unnatural. Whatever was out there wasn't human. On my count, Emma said softly, her voice trembling but resolute. 1, 2. Before she could finish, the door burst open, splintering under the force of whatever stood beyond. A figure stepped inside, its glowing eyes piercing through the dim light. Behind it, others waited, their forms shifting unnaturally. Alex tightened his grip on the disc. "Stay back," he shouted, though his voice wavered. To everyone's surprise, the figure stopped, its head tilted slightly, as if studying them. Then, in a low, guttural voice, it spoke. "Give us the artifact." "No," Alex said firmly, stepping forward despite his fear. "You won't take it." The creature hissed, raising a claw-like hand. But before it could strike, a loud whistle pierced the air. From the trees outside, a familiar voice called out, "Leave them alone." It was Harold. He emerged from the shadows, holding a strange device that emitted a pulsating blue light. The creatures recoiled, their glowing eyes narrowing in anger. "This ends now," Harold said, his tone commanding. "Go back to your masters and tell them the truth cannot stay buried forever." With a final snarl, the figures retreated into the forest, disappearing as quickly as they had come. Harold turned to the group, his face pale but determined. "You kids okay?" he asked, lowering the device. Alex nodded, relief flooding through him. "We're fine, thanks to you." Harold managed a weak smile. "Don't thank me yet. This is only the beginning." By the time Alex and Harold burst out of the cave, their lungs burned from running, and their legs felt like lead. The cool night air hit them sharply, but there was no time to catch their breath. Behind them, dark figures emerged from the shadows of the cave's entrance, moving with unnatural speed. Their eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, and their forms seemed distorted, part human, part something else entirely. "Keep moving," Harold shouted, clutching the backpack tightly as they sprinted into the forest. Alex didn't need to be told twice. He followed Harold through the trees, dodging roots and branches that threatened to trip him. Every step felt heavier than the last, but he forced himself to keep going. The sounds of pursuit grew louder. Snarls, growls, and the crunch of leaves underfoot echoed around them. "They're gaining on us," Alex yelled, glancing over his shoulder. The glowing-eyed figures were closing in, their movements eerily fluid. "I know," Harold replied grimly. "We need to split up. They can't follow both of us." "What? No way," Alex protested. "I'm not leaving you." Harold stopped abruptly, grabbing Alex by the arm. His voice was firm but calm. "Listen to me. You have to get the disc to safety. If they catch us together, we lose everything. Trust me. I've been doing this longer than you think." Before Alex could argue further, Harold shoved the backpack into his hands. "Go straight ahead. There's an old cabin about a mile from here. Hide there until morning, then contact me. I'll meet you when it's safe." Alex hesitated, torn between loyalty and fear. But one look at Harold's determined face convinced him. With a reluctant nod, he turned and ran in the opposite direction, clutching the backpack tightly against his chest. The forest seemed endless, every shadow threatening to leap out at him. His heart pounded so loudly he could barely hear anything else. Finally, after what felt like hours, he spotted the cabin, a small wooden structure barely visible beneath the thick canopy of trees. He stumbled inside, slamming the door shut behind him, and leaning against it to catch his breath. For a while, all he could do was sit there, listening for any sign of pursuit. When no one came, he allowed himself a moment of relief, but only a moment. Pulling the backpack onto his lap, he carefully unwrapped the disc. It still hummed softly, its symbols glowing faintly even in the dim light. Touching it sent a strange warmth through his fingertips, almost as if it recognized him. As dawn approached, Alex began to worry. Harold hadn't shown up, and the silence outside was unnerving. Had something happened to him? Should he risk going back? His thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Startled, Alex froze. Slowly, he stood and approached the entrance, peering cautiously through a crack in the wood. To his relief, it was Ryan and Emma. They looked worried, their faces pale in the early morning light. "Alex," Emma called softly. "Are you in there?" He opened the door just wide enough to slip outside. "What are you two doing here?" "We've been looking for you," Ryan said, crossing his arms. "You disappeared last night without saying anything. What's going on?" Alex hesitated. He wanted to trust them. He needed to trust someone, but how much could he reveal? Taking a deep breath, he decided to take a chance. "I found something important," he admitted. "Something that might explain why Earth's history is so incomplete. But it's dangerous. People, or things, are trying to stop me from figuring it out." Emma frowned. "You're scaring us, Alex. Are you in trouble?" "Yes," he said simply. "But I can't explain everything right now. Just, please, help me keep this safe." He held up the disc, its glow dimming slightly in the daylight. Ryan stared at it, his brow furrowed. "What is that thing?" "It's proof," Alex replied. "Proof of a secret that's been buried for thousands of years." Emma exchanged a glance with Ryan before nodding slowly. "Okay, we'll help you. But you need to tell us everything later." Relief washed over Alex. For the first time since entering the cave, he felt less alone. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that danger was far from over. Somewhere out there, Harold was missing, and the glowing-eyed figures were still hunting them. And sooner or later, they would come again. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex met Harold at the edge of town. The older man carried a flashlight and a small backpack, while Alex wore his usual hoodie, trying to look casual despite the nervous energy coursing through him. They walked in silence for a while, the only sounds coming from the crunch of leaves underfoot and the occasional hoot of an owl in the distance. After about 20 minutes, they reached the mouth of a cave hidden behind thick bushes and overgrown vines. It was easy to see why no one stumbled upon it by accident. It blended perfectly with the forest around it. Harold pulled back the vines, revealing a dark opening that seemed to swallow the light from his flashlight. "This is it," Harold said quietly, his voice tinged with both excitement and caution. "Stay close, and don't touch anything unless I tell you." Alex nodded, gripping the flashlight Harold handed him. As they stepped inside, the air grew cooler, and the faint scent of damp earth filled his nostrils. The walls of the cave were rough and uneven, but something caught Alex's eye almost immediately: carvings etched into the stone. They weren't random scratches. They were symbols, intricate and deliberate, glowing faintly in the dim light. "These markings," Alex murmured, running his fingers lightly over the surface. "They're like the ones I saw in my dreams." Harold nodded. "Yes, these are remnants of the ancient alliance, the time when humans and extraterrestrials worked together. Each symbol tells a story, though few can read them anymore." Alex felt a surge of awe and fear. This wasn't just history. It was proof that everything he'd been told about Earth's past was incomplete, maybe even wrong. But before he could ask more questions, Harold motioned for him to follow deeper into the cave. The path narrowed as they went further, forcing them to walk single file. Finally, they entered a larger chamber, its ceiling high enough to make their flashlights seem tiny against the vast darkness. In the center of the room stood a pedestal made of black stone, and atop it rested a circular object covered in dust. Harold approached cautiously, brushing away the dirt to reveal a metallic disc engraved with more of the glowing symbols. "This is what we've been looking for," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "A fragment of the knowledge your people once shared with humanity." Alex stared at the disc, his heart pounding. It felt alive somehow, humming softly under his gaze. He reached out instinctively, but Harold grabbed his wrist. "Careful," Harold warned. "These artifacts hold immense power. Touching them without understanding their purpose could be dangerous." Alex withdrew his hand quickly, though his curiosity burned brighter than ever. What does it do? It's hard to say exactly, Harold admitted. But legends claim it contains records of advanced technologies, maps of the stars, and even warnings about the mistakes of the past. If we can decode it, we might finally understand why Earth's history was erased. Before Alex could respond, a noise echoed through the cave, a soft scraping sound, like footsteps on stone. Both men froze, their flashlights swinging toward the entrance of the chamber. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, shadows moved across the walls, distorted and unnatural. "We're not alone," Alex whispered, his voice tight with alarm. Harold cursed under his breath. "They found us." "Who?" Alex demanded, panic rising in his chest. "The same forces that erased this knowledge in the first place," Harold replied grimly. "They won't let anyone uncover the truth, not without a fight." Alex's mind raced. Whoever, or whatever, was coming for them. He knew one thing for certain. Leaving now meant abandoning the answers he'd come so far to find. And staying meant risking everything. "We need to take the disc," Alex said firmly, surprising even himself with his resolve. Harold hesitated, then nodded. "If we can get it out of here, we might stand a chance. But we'll have to move fast." As Harold carefully wrapped the disc in a cloth and tucked it into his bag, the scraping sound grew louder. Shadows loomed closer, and Alex realized they were running out of time. Together, they turned and sprinted back toward the cave's entrance, their flashlights bouncing wildly as they navigated the narrow tunnels. Behind them, the footsteps quickened, accompanied by low, guttural voices that sent chills down Alex's spine. Whatever was chasing them wasn't human, and it wanted the disc back at any cost. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. His mind was racing with everything Harold had told him. The old man's words echoed in his head. Asterisk, once you open this door, there's no closing it. Asterisk, what did that mean? Was he walking into something dangerous? Or was this the key to understanding why Earth's history felt so incomplete? As Alex lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his thoughts drifted to the strange symbols and descriptions he'd read in the book. They reminded him of something familiar, though he couldn't quite place it. Then, just as he started to drift off, his vision blurred, and the room around him faded away. He found himself standing in a vast, glowing city. Towering structures made of shimmering metal stretched high into the sky, their surfaces reflecting light like mirrors. Strange vehicles floated silently above wide streets filled with people, or were they people? Some looked human, but others had features that seemed different. Their skin glowed faintly, and their eyes sparkled with an otherworldly intelligence. In the distance, Alex saw a massive platform surrounded by beings who appeared to be discussing something important. As he moved closer, he realized they weren't speaking aloud. Their voices were inside his head, calm and melodic. One voice stood out, clearer than the rest. "The truth will set you free, but at a cost." Alex tried to ask what the voice meant, but before he could speak, the scene shifted. Now he was watching a fiery battlefield. The once beautiful city was crumbling, its towers collapsing into rubble. Beings fought against each other, some wielding weapons that crackled with energy, others using powers Alex couldn't comprehend. The air was thick with smoke and despair. Suddenly, the vision ended, and Alex woke up gasping for breath. His heart pounded as he sat upright, sweat dripping down his face. It felt so real, too real to be just a dream. But what did it mean? And why did parts of it feel connected to the symbols in the forbidden book? The next morning, Alex felt tired but restless. He needed answers, and Harold was the only person who might have them. After grabbing a quick breakfast, he made his way to the address Harold had given him, a small bookstore tucked away on the edge of town. The shop's sign read Jenkins & Co. Rare Books, written in faded gold lettering. Inside, the air smelled of old paper and ink. Shelves lined the walls, crammed with books of all shapes and sizes. Harold stood behind the counter, sorting through a pile of dusty volumes. When he saw Alex, he smiled warmly. "I thought you'd come," Harold said, setting the books aside. "Did you think about what I said?" Alex nodded. "I did, and I want to know more. Those visions, dreams, they felt like memories. Like I've seen those places before." Harold's eyebrows rose slightly. "Dreams, you say? Tell me about them." Alex described the glowing city, the strange beings, and the battle. As he spoke, Harold listened intently, his expression growing more serious. When Alex finished, Harold sighed deeply. "What you're experiencing isn't unusual," Harold explained. "Many who delve into Earth's hidden past report similar dreams. They're glimpses of a time long forgotten, a time when humans and extraterrestrial beings worked together to create wonders beyond imagination." "But why would anyone destroy all evidence of that?" Alex asked. "Why hide it?" "Fear," Harold replied simply. "When alliances break, trust shatters. Humanity turned on its allies, blaming them for problems they didn't cause. The survivors decided the best way to prevent future conflict was to erase the memory of their existence entirely. Knowledge became forbidden, locked away, or destroyed." Alex frowned. "But how can hiding the truth help anyone? Wouldn't it be better to learn from the past?" "In theory, yes," Harold admitted. "But power corrupts. Those in charge feared what might happen if ordinary people learned the full story, so they buried it and punished anyone who tried to dig it up." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. If what Harold said was true, then seeking the truth wasn't just risky, it could be deadly. But he couldn't turn back now. Not when he was so close to uncovering the connection between Earth's secrets and his own mission. "Where do we start?" Alex asked finally. Harold smiled faintly. "There's a place not far from here. An old cave where fragments of the past still linger. It's dangerous, but if you're ready, we can go tonight." Alex hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Whatever waited for him in that cave, he knew he had to face it. The truth was calling, and he couldn't ignore it any longer. The next day, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the old book he had found in the library. It felt like a puzzle piece that didn't fit anywhere, yet it seemed too important to ignore. During lunch, he sat with Emma and Ryan at their usual table under a large oak tree. The warm sunlight filtered through the leaves, but Alex barely noticed. His mind was elsewhere. "Are you okay?" Emma asked, noticing how quiet he was. "You've been acting strange since yesterday." "I'm fine," Alex said quickly, forcing a smile. He hesitated for a moment before deciding to test the waters. "Actually, I came across something weird in the library. A really old book about ancient civilizations and advanced technology. Have you ever heard of anything like that?" Emma frowned, her fork hovering midair. "Advanced technology? Like what?" "Well, it talked about glowing cities, energy sources we don't understand today, and even visitors from the sky helping humans build things." Ryan laughed, leaning back on the bench. "Sounds like one of those conspiracy theories people make up. Aliens building the pyramids, secret government experiments. You know, all that stuff. But what if it's not just a theory?" Alex pressed, his voice quieter now. "What if there's truth behind it?" Emma shook her head. "I think you're reading too much into it. Most of those stories are just myths or exaggerations. People love to imagine big, mysterious explanations when the real answers are usually pretty boring." Alex wanted to argue, but he knew better than to push too hard. Instead, he changed the subject, steering the conversation toward their upcoming biology project. Still, his curiosity burned brighter than ever. That night, alone in his room, he pulled out the book again and began flipping through its yellowed pages. Each chapter revealed more details, sketches of strange machines, descriptions of celestial events, and warnings written in cryptic language. One passage caught his attention. Asterisk those who seek the truth must tread carefully, for knowledge once lost was hidden for a reason. Asterisk. What did that mean? And why would anyone go to such lengths to erase these stories from history? Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Something wasn't right, and he needed answers. The following weekend, Alex decided to visit the library again, hoping to find more clues. This time, he went alone. As he searched the shelves where he'd discovered the book, he realized it was no longer there. Panic bubbled inside him. Had someone taken it? Or worse, had it been removed because he'd shown interest in it? Just as he was about to give up, an elderly man approached him. He wore glasses perched on the edge of his nose and carried a stack of books under one arm. Looking for something specific, the man asked kindly. Alex hesitated. Should he trust this stranger? Deciding it wouldn't hurt to ask, he replied, I found a book here last week about ancient civilizations. It mentioned advanced technology and visitors from the sky. Do you know anything about it? The man's expression shifted slightly, growing more serious. Ah, yes. That book has caused quite a stir over the years. Not many believe what's written in it, but those who do, well, let's just say they tend to disappear. Disappear. Alex echoed, his pulse quickening. What do you mean? The man glanced around cautiously before lowering his voice. There are forces at work that don't want certain truths coming to light. Stories like the ones in that book. They aren't just myths. They're fragments of something much bigger, something dangerous. Alex swallowed hard. Why would anyone hide the truth? Power, the man said simply. Knowledge is power, and some will do anything to control it. If you're truly interested in learning more, I can help, but only if you're willing to take risks. For a moment, Alex considered walking away. This was getting far more complicated than he'd anticipated, but deep down, he knew he couldn't turn back now. Whatever secrets Earth held, they were tied to his mission, and possibly to his own kind. What's your name? Alex asked finally. Harold Jenkins, the man replied with a small smile. And yours? Alex Carter. Well, Alex, Harold said, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. If you're ready, I'll show you where to start looking. Just remember, once you open this door, there's no closing it. As they left the library together, Alex felt a mix of fear and excitement. He didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. The truth was closer than he'd imagined, and it was waiting to be uncovered. The spaceship descended silently through the Earth's atmosphere, its sleek silver surface blending seamlessly with the stars above. Inside, Zeller sat nervously, his hands gripping the edge of his seat. For weeks, he had studied human behavior, language, and customs in preparation for this moment. But no amount of training could fully prepare him for what lay ahead. His mission was simple on paper: pose as a human exchange student, observe their culture, and gather information about their history. Yet there was something unsettling about Earth, a planet shrouded in mystery even among the most advanced civilizations. When the ship landed in a secluded forest just outside a small American town, Zeller activated his holographic disguise. In an instant, his blue skin faded, replaced by the appearance of a typical teenage boy with short brown hair and hazel eyes. He adjusted the backpack slung over his shoulder, took a deep breath, and stepped out into the cool night air. The scent of pine trees filled his lungs, unfamiliar yet strangely comforting. This was it. His new life as Alex Carter had begun. The next morning, Alex arrived at Maplewood High School, clutching a schedule printed on flimsy paper. Students bustled around him, laughing and chatting effortlessly. To them, he was just another face in the crowd, an exchange student from Canada, or so they thought. As he wandered through the hallways trying to find his first class, two figures approached him. One was a girl with curly blonde hair and bright green eyes, her expression curious but kind. The other was a tall boy with messy dark hair and a confident grin. "Hey, you must be Alex," the boy said, extending his hand. I'm Ryan Bennett. Welcome to Maplewood." Alex hesitated for a moment before shaking Ryan's hand. "Thank you," he replied, careful to mimic the casual tone he practiced. "And I'm Emma Taylor," the girl added, offering a warm smile. "If you need anything, help finding your classes, figuring out lunch, or surviving Mr. Parker's history lectures, you can count on us." Alex nodded gratefully. "That means a lot. Everything here is different." "Different good or different bad?" Ryan asked with a chuckle. "Different. Interesting," Alex said after a pause. It wasn't entirely a lie. There was something captivating about Earth, something he couldn't quite put into words. As the days passed, Alex found himself settling into a routine. He attended classes, ate cafeteria food that tasted surprisingly bland compared to meals back home, and tried to act like any other teenager. But during quiet moments, when no one was watching, he would pull out his tablet and pore over digital copies of Earth's historical records. That's when things started to feel off. In one class, his teacher mentioned how ancient civilizations like the Egyptians and Mayans had built incredible structures using primitive tools. Another lecture talked about the Renaissance, describing it as a sudden explosion of art and science. While these stories fascinated Alex, they also raised questions. Why did humanity seem to leap forward in knowledge at certain points while remaining stagnant for centuries? And why were some chapters of history missing altogether? One afternoon, while working on a research project in the school library, Alex stumbled upon a dusty old book tucked away in a forgotten corner. Its cover was worn, and the title, Lost Civilizations and Forbidden Knowledge, was barely legible. Flipping through its pages, he discovered references to technologies far beyond what humans supposedly possessed thousands of years ago. Glowing cities powered by unknown energy sources, maps showing continents that didn't exist anymore, even accounts of beings descending from the skies to guide early humans. Alex's heart raced as he read. Could this be connected to the gaps in Earth's history? Before he could think further, footsteps echoed nearby. Quickly, he closed the book and slipped it into his bag. When Emma walked in a few seconds later, she found him browsing a shelf of novels, looking completely innocent. "What are you reading?" she asked, tilting her head curiously. "Just some fiction," Alex replied smoothly, though his mind was racing. What he had just uncovered felt anything but fictional, and it made him wonder if coming to Earth had been part of a much bigger plan all along.